So another big turning point for me was overcoming my limiting beliefs. So me being Asian and being in LA, I was surrounded by a lot of like tall, good-looking guys who were wealthy, and I was like this college student, about to graduate. I have no money. What am I supposed to do? And since I grew up in Europe, I actually grew up in Amsterdam. I was always surrounded by Caucasian women. So I think that had a really big effect on me because I always liked to date Caucasian women. But me being Asian and my parents being Asian, they would always impose on me that I was going to marry a certain Asian girl. Right?
Did it have to match your nationality?
Yeah.
It could just be Asian, like you couldn't marry an Indian girl or something like that.
Indian girl, maybe.
It's closer.
Definitely like Southeast Asian.
Okay.
Yeah, my parents have to be able to identify with their culture.
Right.
Right. And so, if I would go home with like a Hispanic girl or a black girl, my parents would probably freak out.
Yeah. My first girlfriend was Lithuanian back in high school, and my parents would have nothing of it, so we snuck around after. And then I thought, well, maybe I'll start introducing, I'm Chinese background, so I was going to get closer to China, so I dated Korean girls. But I just didn't want to date my own culture because they reminded me of my sisters, which was kind of weird. But I got over that. It took a while to get over that. I love my sisters, that's why.
No, so I had to overcome that limiting belief of, okay, I'm Asian, I should be able to date girls outside of my race, even though my parents don't want to, and I'm really attracted to these girls, I should be able to get those girls, right? So one thing I see a lot with other guys, especially Asian guys, is that they want to date that tall Russian model, they want to date that beautiful white-skinned girl, and I don't blame you, but if you have the limiting belief of, she probably doesn't date Asian guys, well, guess what? Before you even approach her, you already messed it up, right? So you want to make sure that you really work on your mindsets every other day or so, every day if possible. But
so how do you work on your mindset? Let's deal specifically with this example of limiting beliefs.
One of the things is you need positive references, meaning you have to be able to see that the belief that you have is not true. So you have to see that, for example, that an Asian guy is dating a white girl. Like if you can actually, hearing is not good enough. Actually seeing it, okay, that's more like it. That's what you want to have. So it's hard, especially if you are surrounded by the same type of people that you always hang out with, and they don't date outside their own race. Yeah, I mean, you're stuck in that little bubble then, right? So you want to get outside of that bubble as quick as possible because that is how you expand your mind. So when I was going out to Asian nightclubs, I was not seeing any of that. It was like Asian guys, Asian girls, and it was just reinforcing that old belief of Asian guys date Asian girls, and that's it, right? When I started going out to regular nightclubs, sometimes I would see an Asian guy with a really beautiful white girl, and I was like, wow, okay, so it is possible. So once you see that, keep that picture in your head. Take a picture of that couple if you have to, because you really want to be able to reinforce that in your subconscious. Right? So looking at that every day, or whenever that negative belief comes up, you snap it right away and you start thinking about that positive belief. Because what you want to do is replace that negative belief with a positive thing. Right? So another thing you can do is what we call reframing. Reframing basically means when you have a negative belief, you start looking at it from a different angle and you start making it more positive. So for example, if you think you start looking at a beautiful white girl and you think, okay, she doesn't date Asian guys. You can reframe that into thinking, I bet she only dates Asian guys. Right? It doesn't have to be true. Any belief doesn't have to be true to be effective. As you already probably saw, any negative belief can stick around in your head. Even though it might not be true, it can still work. And so you always want to, the key thing is replace that old belief with a new belief and stick to that. Anytime the old belief comes up, reframe it or mentally picture what you see that picture of not being true, then you slowly will start to believe that it's not true. And this is a process that's going to take a really long time. It's not like something that's going to be fixed in 1 week.
So with being able to see the example, did you go, so you went to these clubs, you saw these guys,
Yeah.
and did you really go around taking photos, or was there also something else that you were doing? Were you befriending them? Were there other role models that you had that who were Asian dating white girls?
It was mostly like being around that environment for me.
Just like osmosis,
yeah, osmosis, exactly. So being able to see that over and over and over again was like the turning point for me, because I mean, I didn't have the social skills to make friends with guys back then.
Right.
So I was like, yeah, this is gonna be awkward. How am I gonna approach a guy? Like, how do I start a conversation with a guy? I don't know, right? So it was just for me, just going to the same places where I knew I could find these type of guys hanging out with these type of girls, and then make sure that you, repetition is key to this. Like, if you just see it one time, first thing you're gonna think is, oh, he got lucky, or he has a lot of money, or that's his best friend or something. Like, you're gonna come up with all these negative excuses, but remember, you want to bat those excuses away as soon as possible, right? So you want to repeat yourself over and over and over again that the negative belief is false, and if it comes up, bat it away.
Now, what if a guy goes to the club and he can't find any Asian guys dating hot white girls? Should he just what should he do at that point?
Okay, so what I did then is I made a commitment to myself and said, I'm only going to approach white girls. So this is something I did for 4 months. Because once I started to believe that Asian guys like myself could get a white girl, I said to myself, okay, the next X amount of approaches are only going to be white girls. And then, okay, this is a little bit of a trickery on your own mind. But as soon as I got a little bit of attraction going and we had a good conversation, I would say something like, so do you like me? Most of the time they would say yes. So by me seeing that, I was like, oh yeah, this is good. But you only, if you say one funny joke or something, and you ask that question, so do you like me? They'll all play along and say yes. But the thing is, that's trickery on your own mind, because if by experimenting, if you find out that it works, if you did it over and over and over again, you're gonna think, oh, see, white girls do like me, because this girl said it, this girl said it, this girl said it. So it's a trickery on your own mind that works. Mm-hmm. It's not super cool or anything, but it works.
And along those lines, after you've been intimate with a girl, it's a good idea to do a debrief, just for you to find out why she liked you. And it took me several of these to actually let it sink in, that she liked me, and it wasn't just because of the game, but that there are natural attributes in me, the things that I didn't even realize that were attractive about me. So that took a while.
Yeah, that's also key. Because you're going to find out things that you never thought about, especially if you ask the right questions. So if you guys aren't familiar with debriefing, the best time is after you had sex with a girl, and when you lay in bed next to each other, that's when you start asking questions of so when did you realize that you really like me? Or when was the first time you thought about having sex with me? Things like that. And you'll be surprised what they'll say to you. Because after sex, that's when they're more honest about it.
Yeah.
And before sex, stuff like that doesn't happen.
Especially when at that point they know you don't have an agenda.
Yeah.
So it's just they're pretty honest about things. So you grew up in Amsterdam. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But how long were you in Amsterdam?
Pretty much my whole life, so 18 years.
Really? Were you in an international school or something?
No, I just went to a regular school. But I was when I was 6 years old, I used to go to LA a lot because I had relatives there. And so I remember the first time my uncle would bring me to Disneyland, and I was like, wow, America is awesome. I want to go there. So ever since then, I said to myself, okay, I'm going to learn English. I went to a bilingual school, and that kind of kicked it off.
Okay, no wonder. Okay.
Yeah.
So I have friends from Amsterdam. They don't speak English like you at all.
No.
So when did you go to the States?
So right after high school, which was 18.
Okay. Yeah. So you moved from at 18 years old, Amsterdam is a pretty cool place to be. Yeah. And then you moved to a place where you can't drink till you're 21.
Yeah.
And there are all these other restrictions. Okay. Did that?
That kind of
culture shock at all?
Yeah. Because when you live in Amsterdam, you're allowed to drink when you're 16. Most people actually drink when they're 14 or 15. So when I got to the States and I realized I couldn't go out, I was like, this is a retarded country, actually.
But they have Disneyland.
Yeah,
so
but you know, by that time I was like, Disneyland, no. But there was one solution that was going to ATN over clubs. But the only thing is, like, you can't drink there. And the girls that go there, they only want to hook up with guys who are usually older than them because they can pay for everything. Because most guys my age couldn't, you know, pay for a drink for another girl.
Even if you wanted to.
Even if I wanted to.
Couldn't even use that line, buy you a drink. Sometimes they put in the clubs, if you're under 21, they put a little stamp on your hand.
Oh, yeah.
And it's really shiny. So it's like a huge...
So when you approach a girl that's older and she sees that you have like a wristband, she's like, you're too young for me.
You color it in, get a different color. Okay, so when earlier you said that there was a turning point where you were able to convert numbers. What were the lessons that you learned that enabled you to do that on a consistent basis?
One, no more trickery. So making sure that when you talk to the girl that she really likes you. That's really important. Like, get the number when you know that she really likes you, and get it when you guys have made plans to meet up again. That was like a huge turning point for me, because like if you put a girl in a good mood, you make her laugh, and you guys have a good time, and then get a phone number, yeah, sometimes that will work out. And if you do that all the time, yeah, you're gonna play a numbers game a lot. Then it's more like a numbers game than like a real game, so to speak. So what really helped me was, I think this is something I got from Jeremy Soule, where he said, you know, get a phone number, but before you do that, make sure that you guys meet up and have plans first. And then as a result of that, you get the phone number. So the way to see that, or the way I saw it, was when you interact with a girl, make the transaction, meaning make plans to meet up again, and then the receipt of that transaction is the phone number. Right? So because you guys made plans to meet up on Tuesday at 6 o'clock for dinner or for drinks or whatever, that's why you got her phone number, so you can stay in touch and remind her. Not because, hey, you know, you're cool, I'm cool, we should hang out. It's a little bit weak, especially when you first start off. You're going to get a lot of phone numbers that way, but under pretense of, like, I don't know if I like this guy enough to hang out with him. Whereas if you change that to, I really like this guy, I want to hang out with him. Oh yeah, we made plans on Tuesday. Okay, that's a little bit more commitment, right?
Were there any ways that you were able to enhance or make it more easy for you to make the plans? Were there any little things that you did to help that, smooth that along?
Yeah, so don't get the phone number really fast. Like 2 minutes in or 5 minutes is usually not good enough. I know a lot of guys will brag about, oh, I got a phone number in 30 seconds or whatever. But, you know, it's a very, the possibility of meeting up again is very small most of the time. So it's talking to a girl a little bit longer, getting to know her really well, making sure that she gets to see who you are as a person, so that when she thinks of you, she doesn't think of you as the guy that she met at that bar or at that shopping center or whatever. She met a guy who was doing X, Y, and Z, and, you know, has a lot of things going for him. When she like, the way I like to see it is when you guys leave, and her friend asks her, so what is this guy about? She should be able to brag about you. Let me put it that way. She should be able to say, okay, his name is John, he does this, he has a passion for this, and things like that. So it makes you more of an interesting person to her friend. And if she can do that to her friend, I think that to me is like a good sign of, okay, you guys had a good conversation. If you guys made plans to meet up again, it's more likely to happen.
Yeah, like one part of that, making plans, it will flow out of, let's say, your commonalities, your qualities. Like, let's say you bring up sports and then you're into rock climbing. She's like, oh, I'd like to try that out. And then the number is just an organic, natural part of it. Then it's more about making that connection, and then the number would flow pretty easily out of that. Like, making the number into a big deal is what I try to tell a lot of guys. The numbers should never be the goal. It's the other thing, the connection, or the logistics of making an actual a concrete date idea, and then that it'll just be, well, how do we get in touch then?
Yeah. Like the phone number is just a tool to meet up again. Like that's the way I see it. This is like a tool that you have in your arsenal to meet up with her and communicate with her. Like when you go out, especially if you want to find girls who want to be like long-term potential, so meaning girlfriends or a little bit something more serious, then you want to shoot for like making plans when you meet someone. Whereas if you just want to have a lot of sex, then plans go out of the way, and it's just like, okay, what's the best way to leave with her? But that's that's a little bit different.
Yeah. If one easy way to do it is if in the course of your conversation you could do a future projection. You could talk about, you joke around about what you're going to do when you actually meet up, and then she plays along. You get verbal confirmation from her with that, and then it's just this fun thing, and she's already kind of living it in her mind, that date, that little bit of a date. You can also work in some investment in your future projection. There's a lot of things you can do there. Then the number is just, well, I'll give you a call then, like how we're going to find each other when we meet, and that'll be an easy transition.